Hey everyone, welcome back to Roadside Coder and welcome to React Native tutorial. So React Native is used for building mobile applications, that is Android and iOS apps with one single code base. That's right, we don't need separate programming languages for both the platforms. With just one code base, we can create a hybrid application. We will learn React Native from absolute scratch. That means you don't need to have knowledge of React or React Native, just the basic JavaScript. We will go on and learn it by making a beginner-friendly project as well. Plus, in our upcoming videos, we are going to clone the whole InShots news app with React Native. We will also go on to build the APK of our app so that you can deploy it on Play Store or share it with your friends. So without any further ado, let's get started. So we're gonna start by setting up our environment for React Native app development. So we're gonna first go to Google and type Node.js. And let's go to this website. And you can download Node.js from over here. This will provide the Node environment in our PC and a useful tool called npm, which will help us to install all of our dependencies. Next, we're gonna go and install git bash. So this thing is optional. Actually, git bash is a really user-friendly terminal. And you can see download has started. So I'm gonna go ahead and cancel it since I already have this. Now the third thing that you will need is a code editor. I personally suggest you use VS Code. You can go to this link and download VS Code from over here. So now I've opened VS Code. You can go to File and open Folder and select the folder wherever you would like to work. Now go to the terminal and now we're gonna install Expo globally in our PC. So type npm install --global expo-cli and press enter. This will install Expo CLI globally in your system. Now you might be thinking, what is Expo? So let's go to our browser and search it. So Expo is the tool that helps us build React Native apps efficiently. So let's click on Get Started, and in the installation tab, you're gonna see that it tells us we need Node.js and Git, and for Mac users you need Watchman, and recommended tools has VS Code editor inside of it, and there we go. This is how you install Expo CLI, which we are currently doing it. Now while developing your app, you need an environment to test or run those apps. So if you're developing an Android app, you can go ahead and download Android Studio by clicking on this link over here. So let's open this. And it has all of the information on how you can set up the Android Studio. I'm gonna come back to this in just a second. But if you want to test your app in the iOS, you can go ahead and click on this link and it's gonna tell you that you can go ahead and install Xcode. So since I'm developing my app in a Windows PC, so I'm gonna go ahead and install Android emulator. So you can click on this link, download, and it's gonna take you to the Android Studio download page. Now you can click on over here, download Android Studio, read the terms and condition if you want, and click on over here and download Android Studio. So I'm gonna cancel it because I already have Android Studio. So let me open that real quick. Now this documentation has some further instructions on what you need to do for the installation. Everything is over here. So here it is. I have opened Android Studio. So it tells us to go to configure and SDK manager. And inside of over here, we need to go to SDK tools and install Android SDK build tools, which is this one. And all of the selected things that you see over here, just select them and press on the install button. That will pop up right over here, just like this. And click on OK. Now the next thing what it tells is you need to go to SDK platforms inside of the same SDK manager. And you need to install an Android's version. So as you can see, I've installed Android 11, that is Android R. And that's all. And these are the information for some information for Mac users. So if you're on Mac, you can go ahead and read this. Step 2 will be to set up your virtual device. So just go to Android Studio and click on Configure, AVD Manager. And this window will pop up. Now you need to go to click Create Virtual Device. And as all of the instructions are over here, you need to go to Create Virtual Device and create your own virtual device by selecting any of the devices right over here. So personally, I've installed this Pixel 3, I believe. Yep, I've installed Pixel 3a. So you can click on Create Virtual Device and select your particular device and click on Next and set up the whole device. And then click on this green button to launch the Android device. So here we go, our Android emulator has successfully started. Now I would like to tell you about one more tool. That is, if you go to expo.dev, you can go ahead and create an account. So I already have an account, so I'm gonna go ahead and log in. So now I've successfully logged in into Expo. Just click on this Snacks tab over here. And over here, you can create your own virtual environment in the browser itself to develop React Native apps. So I already have a sample environment, or you can go ahead and click on New Snack. So it's gonna take you to an online text editor with an online emulator set up for you. So Android emulator is also over here. If you want, you can click on this iOS button and it's gonna open an iOS emulator for you as well. Alright, cool. So I'm gonna go ahead and close this off, and in our VS Code you can see Expo CLI has successfully installed. Now let's go ahead and initialize a new project. So now I'm gonna press Ctrl L to clear the terminal and type Expo init and the name of our project, which I'm gonna say React Native Tutorial, and press enter. Now it's gonna ask you a few questions. So first of all, it's gonna ask us to choose a template. So we're gonna go ahead and select the blank one, but we can initialize a blank with TypeScript, with tabs, and there are multiple options over here. So I'm gonna go ahead and select the blank. Now it's gonna create a blank app for us with minimal dependencies. And there we go, our project initialization has been finished. And you can see a new folder has been created with the name of React Native Tutorial. So let's switch to this folder. I'm gonna go to open folder and select that particular folder. Here we go, our project has been opened in VS Code. Now I forgot to tell you one thing, that you can, instead of using an Android emulator, you can test your apps while developing in your phone. And you can do that by using Expo Go mobile app. So let me quickly go to the terminal and run our app first. So I'm gonna type Expo start. Here we go, our app has started. Now you need to go to over here and click on this Control plus click. So it's gonna take you to the browser and open the Expo developer tools over there, just like this. Now if you're using an Expo Go app, you can use that app and scan this QR code. Then you can see the app run in your phone in real time. But since we're not gonna use that, so we're gonna use our Android emulator. So we're gonna go and click on run on Android device /emulator. Now you can see this has started building the JavaScript bundle. And there you go, our new app is successfully running. So let's go back to VS Code, and inside of our folder, we can see there's an app.js file. And this text right here, open up app.js to start working on your app, is going to be written inside of this file right over here. So I'm gonna remove this and write hello world and save this. Then you're gonna see that it updates over here in real time, just like that. Now let's explore our folder first. So over here we have a package.json file which contains all of our dependencies, and an app.js file which contains all of the code for our app, and an assets folder which contains all of the images and basically all of the assets that we are going to use in our app. So let me remove all of this stuff, and I'm gonna tell you from the scratch what all of this means. Now to start our React Native app, we're gonna first import React from React. And then go ahead and create our first component by typing const app. And inside of this, we're gonna return something. So let's keep that empty. And then export this thing. Export default app. Now in React Native, we have something called a view. So what is this view? This view comes from React Native. Import view from React Native. So this view is exactly similar as a div in HTML or JSX. And we can add a text in our app by typing a text tag. So let's import this from React Native. I'm gonna press Control space and import this just like this. And we're gonna type something like hello world and press it and save it. And you're gonna see our text is in our screen, but it's right over here at the very top left. It's because this status bar comes in our way. So let's go ahead and give this some basic styling. So for giving this styles, we're gonna use something called style sheet from React Native. So comma, I'm gonna import style sheet, and right below our export, I'm gonna go ahead and write const styles equal style sheet dot create, and this is going to be an object. So now inside of the text, I'm gonna go ahead and say style equals styles dot, it's just like providing this a class name. So I'm gonna go ahead and say text styles, let's say, and now I'm gonna take this text styles class, and inside of this style sheet, I'm gonna write this and provide it some styles. Let's say margin top to be 50 and save it. and you can see hello world has gotten a margin of 50 from the top. Similarly, we can say margin left 50. So this is very similar to CSS. So you're not gonna have any problem writing the styles for React Native. It's just all of these styles are in the camel case. Now the next tag that we can use is an image tag. So I'm gonna go down over here and type image. Now we need to provide it some source. Now we can either provide this from our local or we can provide it a URL. So let's go ahead and see in our assets we have, let's go ahead and use this icon.png. So I'm gonna go ahead and say import icon from /assets/icon.png, and I'm gonna use this icon. Oops, we have to import image from React Native, just like this. And now I'm gonna use this icon. So I'm gonna say source will be equal to this icon, and then we have to provide it some width and height. So you can either provide styles like these, like this, or you can just provide them inline styles, just like this. Let me put this over here. Yep, just like this, width 305 and height 159, just like that. So this is how you provide an image. This is not showing up because I think this image is just too white. So let's go ahead and get some new image from Google. So let's take this picture. Let's take the URL and go back to our app. Now instead of the icon, so this icon is being imported from the local. So if I want to import a URL, so I can remove this and say URI : and provide the link and save this. Now you can see over here, the image has appeared right here. So this is how you import an image in React Native app. Cool. Now let's see how we can add a button in our React Native app. I'm gonna go below this image and I'm gonna say touchable opacity. And you can see it has auto imported from React Native. Inside of this, let me say press me and save this. Okay, this gives us an error that this strings should be rendered inside of a text component, obviously. So I'm gonna go ahead and add a text component and put it inside of that. So now you can see we have a press me button right over here. Now you can see this whenever we press on this, this goes to 0 opacity. So we can give it custom opacity by typing active opacity and giving it any number like from 0 to 1. So let me say 0.5. Now when I press this, you can see it doesn't go full 0 opacity. So this is how we create a button. Now there are other button types as well, such as touchable highlight or touchable without feedback. So this doesn't give a feedback, just like this. And touchable native feedback. I think this one is for iOS if I'm not wrong. And obviously touchable opacity. Great. Now we're gonna go on and see more stuff like this as we start building our app. So let's start building a to-do list app with React Native. So I'm gonna remove all of this stuff and all of these styles. Great. Now our app will be empty. Now first thing that I'm gonna do, I'm gonna make this view a container and I'm gonna give this some styles.container. And I'm gonna take this container class and I'm gonna put it right over here because we're gonna provide it some styles in the future. Now let's give this app a heading. So I'm gonna go ahead and type text. And inside of this, I'm gonna type React Native tutorial and save this. Now still it appears on the status bar, as you can see. So what's the solution for that? We can't just provide it the padding every time, right? So we have a status bar tag in React Native. So status bar. So this comes from React Native. So as you can see over here, this is imported from React Native. Now we can give this style of auto and save this. Now you're gonna see it's gonna ignore the status bar and render everything below this. Great. Let's go ahead and give this text some styles. So style equals styles dot heading. Let's take this heading and I'm gonna give this heading some styles such as margin vertical of 10, some font size of 30 and some font weight of 700. So you see how similar this is to CSS. We just have to make everything as the camel case. So inside of the container, I'm gonna give some container styles such as flex1. So in React Native, all of these view and all are automatically display flex. So we don't need to write display flex manually. So we can go ahead and say flex1 so that it takes whole of the space available in the app. and align items to center so that they all will be centered, and some background color. So let's save this. So this is a subtle background color that I provided it. Cool. Now to create a to-do list app, we're gonna need an input component, right? So for inputting the text from the user, we're gonna use something called text input. So text input. This comes from React Native, and it's gonna have a placeholder which is gonna say, let's say, enter to do, and of course it's going to have some styles dot input. Now this input component has rendered over here. If you go on and click on this, so we can write, so we can have a keyboard as over here as well. So I'm gonna remove this. Let me first style it a little bit, and after this I'm gonna give it a button as well. So I'm gonna say touchable opacity, and I'm gonna say go. So inside of since it's a text, so inside of the text I'm gonna write go. So just like that, a button also has been rendered over here. I'm gonna provide some style to this text as well. So styles dot button. Let's go ahead and provide this some styles. Also, I'm gonna cover both of these into a separate view. So view, and let me push them inside of this view, and this view is also going to have some style later on. Input container. Great. Now let's go ahead and style all of this. So first of all, for our input container, I'm gonna give this flex direction of row so that they appear in a single line, some margin horizontal, and some align items to the center. So just like this. Now I'm gonna make this input element, that is this class name, with style of input. I'm gonna make it flex 1 so that it takes whole of the space. So input flex 1, just like that, it takes whole of the space. And I'm gonna give it a few more styles, such as background color of white and shadow of black. Now the shadow doesn't appear over here. It's because we have to provide it a property of elevation. So I'm gonna go ahead and say elevation 10. So now you can see it has some shadow beneath it, and I'm gonna go ahead and provide it some margin and padding, just like this. So there we go. Our input is now looking a little bit beautiful. Now let's go ahead and style our button. So for our button, I'm gonna provide it some padding of 13, some background color of white, some border radius, and elevation to this as well. So this also has some shadow. So there we go. This looks much beautiful now. Now let's go ahead and create the variable, or in React's language as we call it, as state for our application. Let me remove this image tag since we are not using it. So now inside of this app function or app component, I'm gonna go ahead and say use state, and I'm gonna say const bracket, and this bracket will have two things, one to do and comma set to do. Now we need to import this use state. So import this use state from React. So what are these to do and set to do? So to do is the variable inside of which the value of something will go, of our to do will go. And this set to do is a function which will help us to set the value of this to do variable. So I'm gonna explain you as we go on and use it. So don't worry. So initial value will be empty. So this is going to contain a single to do. So if we go inside of our text input, we can say on change text. So whenever the text changes, this is just like the on change in HTML. So on change text, it provides us the text that is changed, and we're gonna say set to do to be that particular text, just like this. So if we take this to do and let's say render it in place of this React Native tutorial, so you're gonna see that it's going to replace it whenever we go ahead and type it. Yep, you can see this state is replacing this title. Great, let me just remove this off from over here. Also, we need to provide it a value so that this is a controlled input tag of to do. Alright, now we need to create a state which is going to contain all of our to dos. So let's go ahead and say use state and to dos. So this is going to be an empty array initially. So this will contain all of our to-dos. Now, whenever we type anything inside of it and press go button, this should append it inside of these to-dos array. So let's go ahead on touchable opacity, and I'm gonna say on press. So just like on click in React Native, we have on press, and I'm gonna say a function name. Let's say handle add to do. Now this function doesn't exist yet, so I'm gonna go ahead and create it. Const handle add to do. Now inside of this, whenever this function is fired off, const, okay, whenever this function is fired off, it's gonna check if the to do is empty. Then it's not going to do anything, so return. But if this is not empty, then it's going to set the to-dos to whatever that was already inside of it. So I'm gonna spread to-dos. So this is just the JavaScript spread operator, which is used for spreading all of that's inside of our to-dos. And we're gonna add something new to it. So I'm gonna add an object with an ID of, let's say ID is going to be date.now. Date.now. This is going to be unique. And we're gonna have a to-do, which is going to be the to-do itself. It's going to be the text, which is going to be to-do. Then we're gonna empty this input tag. So I'm gonna say set to-do to be empty. Set to-do, not to-dos. We're gonna empty this thing. Okay, so let's go ahead, and if we go ahead and type go, it got empty, but we didn't see anything because we are not rendering this to-dos anywhere. So how do we check this? We can go to our emulator and press Ctrl M, and it's gonna bring up this menu. And inside of this, we can press debug remote.js. So this will open React Native debugger in our browser. So if we go to inspect in the console, so let's go ahead and console log this to-dos. So I'm gonna go over here and console log to-dos. Now, if we go back to our browser, you can see it's an empty state. But if I go on and type anything and press on go, you're gonna see we have an item inside of it with the ID of this and text of this. Again, type inside of it and go. And yep, we have now two to-dos inside of it. So this is a really helpful tool while developing our React Native apps to debug them. So let's go back and render all of these to-dos in our app now. Now to render all of this, we have two options. First one is we can use the old way of React, that is by using the map function, or the second way by using a flat list, which is exclusive in React Native. So let's go ahead and use the map function first. So I'm gonna say scroll view. So scroll view is used for whenever we are rendering the lists with the help of map usually. So to-dos dot map to do, and we're gonna render a text simply for now. Later we're gonna go ahead and style this. So to do dot text, and we also need to give it some key as we usually do whenever we create a map. So to do dot id. So now you can see our to-dos are rendering over here now. Now if I go in and type anything else, and yep, our to-dos are rendering right over here. Awesome. But we don't want this. We want the React Native way of doing stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this from the import, and I'm gonna render a flat list. Now inside of this flat list, wait, let me first wrap this flat list in a view. That'll be better. Okay, flat list has imported from React Native. Now inside of this flat list, we're gonna provide it some data, which will be to-dos. How are we going to use this data? We have a function called render item. This is a prop provided by flat list. So open curly braces, and inside of this we can write a whole component. So you can write this component separately, or you can write it inside of this. I'm gonna write it inside of this. So I'm gonna say item, or you know what, I'm gonna destructure the item out of this to-dos. So I'm gonna write this function, and let's say text, and inside this text I'm gonna write item, just like we did earlier, item dot text, and press and save it. And let's go ahead and type anything and press go. Oh, okay, this won't work because we need a key extractor as well. So just like in the map function we have a key, in this flat list we need to add a key extractor. This keeps track of all of the items. So item dot id dot to string, and this has to be a string, every id. So now you can see all of the to-dos are rendering over here. If I add some new to-do, it gets added to the list. Awesome. Let's go ahead and make them a little bit beautiful. So I'm gonna go and make a single to do component and bring over here. I'm gonna create a components folder right here. Components. Now this is not compulsory to create a components folder, but this is a good practice to keep all of your components inside of a components folder. So I'm gonna name it single to do dot JS. Now I'm gonna tell you a shortcut. By pressing R and F and press enter, you're gonna render a whole React Native boilerplate code for a component. So how did I did that? I'm using an extension called ES7 React Redux GraphQL React Native Snippet. So you should install this extension as well. Oops. Let me close this up. Cool. So let's go ahead and build this. So this view is going to have some class name or some style. As you can say, I keep on saying class name of to do. And inside of it, I'm gonna have a text component which comes from React Native. And this will say to do dot text like we did earlier. But where does this to do comes from? This comes from the previous component. So this comes from the props. So I hope you're aware of the props and state which are used in React. If you're not, you can go ahead and watch my React playlist. Link will be in the description. So to do dot text, we're gonna render a to do. So let's just do this for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna remove this and I'm gonna render single to do. Now you can see this has been imported from // component / single to do. Now we need to provide it the to do and the set to do. We're gonna use it later. I'm gonna tell you how. Set to do's. Also all of the to do's. So to do's equals to do's. So we're gonna use all of this later. Don't worry about where we're gonna use them. So let's go to single to do, and now you're gonna see that style sheet is not defined. Oops, I wrote style sheet over here. I was supposed to write styles. Yep. Let's go ahead and write some to do and press go. Okay, styles is not defined. Yep, because we haven't imported the style sheet. So const styles equals style sheet dot create. Now it should be happy. Let's add some to do. Okay, this is not rendering any to do. I think there's something wrong. Oops, we were supposed to pass the item, not the to do. Yep, there we go. Now this to do is going to have some styles, which is flex direction of row, some margin horizontal of 10, that is left and right. Margin horizontal means left and right margin. Some elevation of 5 so that it has some shadows. And I'm giving a shadow color, some background color, some padding vertical and horizontal. That padding vertical means up and down padding. So these are just the generic styles. I'm not gonna waste your time explaining all of this because if you're coming from the web background, these are very common for you. So you can see our to do has style a little bit. Okay, I need to do one more thing and to go to this view and give this some styles of width 100%. Yep, that's better. Also some margin top of 10. Right. Now we're gonna give an edit icon over here and a delete icon over here. So right below this text. But first, for adding those icons, we're gonna need a dependency called expo / vector icons. So I'm gonna go to my terminal. Let's open a new terminal. And I'm gonna type npm install at expo / vector - icons and press enter. Now if you go to Chrome and search expo vector icons, you're gonna land on this page. This has bunch of icons. So what we're gonna use is edit this icon, the edit icon. No, not this one. I mean this one, the edit which comes from material icon. And this is how we're gonna use this. Import material icons from at expo / vector icons, and we're gonna render this component like this. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm gonna import it, and right below this I'm gonna add a touchable opacity, and inside of this I'm gonna add the material icon just like this. So I haven't done anything. I've just taken the material icon tag from the website So this is still installing, so obviously this is not going to work. So let's wait for it to install first.
2,000 years later.
Here we go, finally the package has installed and it says touchable opacity is not imported. Okay, I'm gonna import it. Okay, it's imported now. Let's see if it works. Let me add a to do. Yep, there we go, we have the icon over here. Great. Similarly, we're gonna add a delete icon. So I'm gonna copy this up and delete. Yeah, just like that. Now let's go ahead and give these some styles. So first of all, I'm gonna give the to do text some style. This thing. So I'm gonna say style styles dot to do text. And for our icons, we have some to do action styles. So I'm gonna go over here and give some to do text style. We're gonna give it flex 1 so that it pushes all of the objects to the other side. Oops, I think I spelled the name wrong. Yep. And we're gonna give some to do action some margin left of 15 so that they create some space between them. Yep, just like that. Great. Now we're gonna create an edit state over here, which will, whenever we click on this edit icon, that will enable us to edit this text right over here. So use state, and I'm gonna name this state as edit, and by default it's going to be false. And let's import use state as well. Cool. So now over here I'm gonna say, let me keep this over here. So here I'm gonna say edit. So if the edit is enabled, so if not edit, then it's gonna render this text. Otherwise it's going to render a text input. Yep, just like that. So whenever we click on this edit icon, so I'm gonna say on press, we're gonna call a function called handle edit. So let's create this function, const handle edit. So inside of it we're gonna say set edit and just invert the edit state, whatever it is. Okay, now let's test it out. If I go ahead and add some to do, if I click on this edit, yep, you can see we have an input tag over here. Let's give some styling to this input tag. So I'm gonna say styles dot to do input, and provide it some styles over here, some flex of 1 so that again it pushes all the content to the side, some font size, some padding and border so that it has some border and we are able to see this, and some border color and some border width. Great. Now if I push this again, yep, you can see it looks much better. And you know what, I'm gonna go ahead and give this a value of to do dot text so that our text is already inside of it. So if I click on over here, yep, you can see our text is already populated inside of this. Awesome. Now let's go ahead and create the logic for editing. So for that, I'm gonna create another state called edit text. This will contain all of the text that will be added after editing of the to do. So this will be by default to do dot text. Now on change of this text input, I'm gonna change this edit state or edit text state. So on change text, say edit, no, let's say text, and I'm gonna say set edit text to be this text. Now let's add the logic for it. So inside of this, I'm gonna say if it's not in the edit state, only then you do set edit, otherwise else we're gonna do the editing logic. So other than that, we're gonna say set edit. So if it's not in the editing state, we're just gonna do this and not this. But if it's in the editing state, we're gonna do this, set edit, :edit, and some further step as well. Then we're gonna say set to do's. So set to do, we're gonna be taking it from our parent component. So let me add this over here, and also to do's. So if you remember, we were taking this right over here. Yep. So now we're gonna use them. So set to do's, and inside of this, I'm gonna say to do's dot map, and I'm gonna edit a particular to do. So I'm gonna take that to do and t.id. First of all, let me find that to do. So if t.id is equal to do.id, If that's the case, then what are we going to do? ID will be t.id and the edited text will be text colon edit text. Then we're going to say edit text. Otherwise, what are we going to say? We're going to return t. That is the normal to do that was being sent to us. So if the t.id matches the to-do.id, only then we're going to edit it. Otherwise, we're going to return it. Cool. Let's test it out. I'm going to press this and edit this to do. Oops, there's some issue over here. Okay, so I need to provide this value to, I guess, this thing, edit text. So edit text already has the to-do.text. Cool. So if I go on and say something and press on this icon again, okay, so there's an issue. Set to-dos is not a function. Check if I'm sending it right. Oh, okay, I'm sending set to-do, not set to-dos. Yep, that's right. Now it's going to work. I'm going to write another to-do and I'm going to try to edit this one and press this edit icon. Yep, it has been edited. So let's write our delete logic as well. So for our delete icon, I'm going to say on press and I'm going to write the logic inside of it. So I'm going to call an handle delete function, which is not written yet. So I'm going to go ahead and write that function. It's const handle delete, and inside of it I'm going to take an ID of the to-do that is going to be deleted. So I'm going to say right here, I'm going to say to-do.id. I'm sending the ID to this, and we're going to take this ID and filter it out from our array. So we're going to set the to-do and say to-dos.filter. If the ID matches, then don't return that to-do. So this is how we're going to be able to delete the to-do. So let's test it out and click on delete button. Yep, the to-dos are able to be deleted. Let's try to edit them. Let's say hello and press this icon. Yep, it has been successfully edited. Awesome. So we have successfully created our to-do list app. But there's one problem in this. Whenever we go on and refresh our app or reload our app, all of the to-dos will be lost. So how do we retain them? Just like we have local storage in our browser, we have async storage in our React Native app. Let me close this remote debugger. I think this is making our app a little bit slower. So yep. Okay, let's implement the async storage. So for that, we have to install a package for React Native async storage. It used to be the part of React Native, but now it has been separated. So let's go ahead and search React Native async storage and go over here. And you're going to see use one of the community packages. So I'm going to click on this community package button. And we're going to use this package right here, React Native async storage / async storage. So let's copy this line up and let's go back to VS Code and say npm install React Native async storage / async storage. There we go. The package has installed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a use effect over here. So if you don't know what use effect is, let me explain you. So use effect is basically a hook, just like use state. So what happens is when we write use effect just like this, let me import this first. Yep, it has been imported. So when we write it like this, whenever our component is loaded for the first time, whatever we write inside of the use effect will be executed. But when we write anything, let's say if we write any variable inside of this, then it's going to be executed every time this particular variable will change. So we can add multiple variable or dependencies inside of this square bracket. So I'm going to say async storage, and you can see async storage has been imported from the package that we just installed. So dot set item, and we're going to name this item to-dos, and we're going to say JSON dot stringify, just like we do in web. Similarly, we're going to do it in over here as well. JSON dot stringify to-dos. So we're going to set all of the to-dos in our local storage. So what's going on? It could not be found within the project. Okay, let's just restart this. Maybe there's some problem due to this package. So I'm going to let this start, and meanwhile, so in these dependencies, we're going to add a to-dos. So every time we edit a to-do or delete a to-do, that means when we edit this to-dos array, we're going to set the async storage again. We're going to set all of the to-dos to our local storage again. Let's see if our Expo Developer Tools has started. Yep, let me run on Android device. Here we go, the app has started. But sometimes it happens that even after restarting the app, the error doesn't go. So what you need to do is you need to kill the server, and you just need to type npm space I. You need to type npm install so that all of the dependencies get reinstalled and get initialized. So that also can solve your problem. Anyway, so here we go. Let me test it out if everything is working fine or not. Yep, looks good to me. Now over here we're just adding all of these to-dos to the async storage, and after we handle this handle edit, after we edit our to-dos, then also we're gonna set all of the to-dos to our async storage. So I'm gonna add this line over here as well. Now in our app.js, whenever we load the app, we want to do something so that all of the to-dos get loaded right into our app. So I'm gonna go over here and add a function called const fetch to-dos. And what this function is going to do is it's going to contain const data variable, which will have all of the to-dos that are fetched from our async storage. So async storage dot get item, which is called to-dos as we named it. So also this, we are using await over here, so we're gonna use async. This is a synchronous task, and then if there's something inside of the data, we're gonna set all of our to-dos. But first we're gonna parse them. So json.parse from string to object, just like this. And now we're gonna call this fetch to-dos function inside of a use effect. So right inside of over here, I'm gonna say fetch to-dos, and I'm gonna call this. Awesome. So if I go on and write something, let's go ahead and write some to-dos, and let's go ahead and restart our app, or let's reload our app. So I'm gonna press Ctrl M and reload. Yep, there we go. Our to-dos has been fetched from our async storage. Awesome. So we have successfully created our first React Native app. That's amazing. Press the like button if you are happy with what you created right here. Awesome. So now let's go ahead and publish our app, or create the APK for our app. So first of all, if I go inside of the assets folder, you're gonna see it has this icon image and this splash PNG. So you can replace both of these image. So you can replace this splash PNG, this part of the image, and the icon image with what you want the icon of your app to be. But I'm not gonna replace it right now. I'm just gonna use it as it is. So now what you need to do, you need to go and kill the server and type Expo build :Android. Now this requires you to have an account at the Expo website that we created at the beginning of the video. So let me go over here and let's say expo.dev. So you're gonna have to go and create the account in this website, and when you do this Expo build :Android, it's gonna ask you to log into Expo. So in my case, I've already logged into Expo, so I'm gonna press enter, and it's going to start its deployment process. Now it's asking us what would you like your Android package to be. So you can just name it like let's say roadside coder and .to-do list, or you can name whatever you like your app to be. So this needs to be added for your Android app to be created as an APK. So now press enter, and now it's gonna ask you, do you want an APK or do you want an app bundle? So you can create an app bundle if you want to publish this app to Play Store, or if you just want it to be sent as an APK into your phone or someone else's phone, you can press on APK. So I'm gonna press on APK. Now you're gonna see this has started bundling the JavaScript. So now if you go back to our Expo website and refresh it, you're gonna see it has created a new build over here called React Native Tutorial. And if you click on it, you're gonna see that it's queued and it's being built. The APK is being built. So if you go back, it says you can press Ctrl C to exit. So I'm gonna exit this. And now our work here is done. So our APK is being built. So let me show you, I've already built this APK right over here. So it's gonna take a few minutes to build, and after this has been built, it's gonna show you just like this, finished. And you can download the APK by pressing on this download button, and then take that APK and put on your phone and share with your friends. Awesome. Or you can publish it to Play Store. So awesome, you have successfully created your first Android application. Pat yourself on the back. Now similarly, if you want to create an iOS app, you can say expo build iOS, just like that. Awesome. Now for our next React Native project, I'm gonna clone the entire InShorts news application. So for that to drop, you people are gonna have to give this video 100 likes. As soon as this video hits 100 likes, I'm gonna drop that tutorial very soon. So you're gonna love that tutorial, and it's going to be an awesome project for your portfolio for getting you a job as a React Native developer. Now also I have an awesome announcement to make. So a lot of people were requesting me to start the membership for the channel. So now you can click on join button besides subscribe button and take the membership for the channel. So there are 3 levels for the membership. First one is roadside supporter if you just want to support the channel. The second one is roadside learner, where you will get the exclusive live stream access here on YouTube, which I will do every single week. And you can ask questions from me during that live stream. And the third membership, that is roadside beast, allows you to have one-on-one meeting with me via video call, and we can discuss your doubts or any other stuff that you would like. And of course, you're gonna get some awesome emojis and badges that you can use in the comment section, so that I'll be able to see your comment apart from all of the other. You're gonna get a badge in front of your name. Awesome. So if you like this video, just click on the subscribe button and turn on those bell notifications, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.